Okay, we are live. Fantastic. Welcome everybody to what's turning out to be a sort of a nightly session of just sitting here and chatting with y'all, talking about comic books, talking about comic book related things. We'll talk about movies. We will talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. We're here to service you. My name's RJ Carter. I am senior editor for criticalblast.com, where pop culture gets blasted. And we are here tonight to talk with Stephen Mitchell about his upcoming, you know what, I'm so used to saying that it comes out automatically, his recently published YA novel, YA superhero novel, Bulletproof. And Stephen will be joining us a little bit later in the program. We're also going to prognosticate, he and I together, about the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths. We've been watching the shows and trying to piece together the clues to see what we think is going to happen. And we also have an opportunity that we want to share with comic book creators out there. I've been in touch with a couple of people already about this, and we're getting some interest about getting your brand, your comic book title, your logo in front of the eyes of people who are not going to IGG and looking for comic books, may not be looking for comic books at all. So this is an untapped audience, and the buy-in on this is actually very minimal and charitable. So I've teased that enough there. We will talk about that in just a little bit. Movie review-wise, if you go to criticalblast.com right now, you'll see the just published review of John Cena's Playing with Fire. Now, Playing with Fire, if you've seen your typical Nickelodeon film or your typical Disney Channel film, that's what you're going to get with Playing with Fire. You've got a team of somewhat competent adults who lose all competency as soon as children are introduced into their environment. Hijinks ensue, slapstick comedy comes at you from all angles, poop jokes galore. So that's what you're in for, which is fine. We took our kid to the show. There were other families with kids there. They all loved it. And if that's what you're wanting out of a movie, this one succeeds. It's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie. It's just a really good, fun movie. And in my opinion, John Cena plays it very well. John Cena is on his way really to become the next cinematic Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's got the build for it. He's shown he can do the action roles. We've seen him do semi-serious action roles in things like Bumblebee. And with Playing with Fire, he's definitely showing off the guns and doing some of the action things, doing some serious action things, but he's not afraid to throw himself into the comedy, even if he's going to be the butt of the joke. So, think about things like Terminator and Kindergarten Cop. Schwarzenegger was doing both of those. He did them well, and it helped round out his accessibility and his brand. I think John Cena has the capability of doing the same thing here. So we'll just have to watch and see see what he does with his next couple of films. We also have recaps up of Mountain Monsters. Has nothing to do with comic books, I know, but I watch it. I watch it because people come to the site to find out what we're saying about it. And as I said, what you want to see is what we're wanting to talk about. So since people like talking about Mountain Monsters, we recap the show. Now, we make fun of it. We try to treat it like it's a serious documentary about hunting Bigfoot and skinwalkers, and ends up being almost always about little girls trapped in the woods somewhere that disappear. So if you want to watch a show about grown men tramping about in the woods chasing a little girl, I won't judge, but that's what the show is about. So we're going to pop over to Twitter here, and we're going to send the link out and let people know we are doing our thing here. Tweet-a-dee-dee-dee, 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 tweet. We're live, and we have big doings tonight. www.youtube.com/criticalblast. A piece of advice: if you ever do want to put a website together and you have a name, make sure that every single social media site has it available, and then grab them before you grab the website name. Comicsgate, Bulletproof, and Fun. I think that's a winning combination right there. Fun is the key. If we're not having fun, then it becomes work. And if it becomes work, you want to get paid. Since we're not getting paid, it might as well be fun. So let's have some fun. Get one of my stolen trademark tug gloves here. And while we're waiting for all of you to show up here, I'm going to show off some things. We'll pull some things off the shelf. And we've got one of the things we'll show is the giveaway we're going to get up this weekend. So keep an eye out for that. We are going to be giving away this Mars LightCon game for the Xbox. This is you plug in the gun, you've got a light gun, and this is Voyage of the Dead. So this looks like you're going to be shooting some zombies. We're going to be giving this away, as well as an additional LightCon gun from Mars, so that you'll be able to play against another person, be a competitive game. Watch for that. There'll be a form on criticalblast.com, and of course, as soon as it's up, we will tweet it, Facebook it, Instagram it. We even LinkedIn things, so it'll be out there. Watch for smoke signals. If you see a smoke signal in the sky that looks like a great big blast, it'll be us. I don't know how we'll pull it off, but that's what we'll do. This will be a great item for yourself. Be a good thing to give somebody for Christmas if you were the winner on this one. This is a $129 value, each of them. Not each of these boxes together, the gun and the extra game. When I say each of them, I'm talking about not only Voyage of the Dead, but also Cubit's Quest, which will be a separate giveaway. Also for Xbox, also a LightCon gun and another LightCon gun. So we will, whether you win one or the other, you're going to get two guns. So you can shoot at your television screen and either kill zombies or whatever it is that Cubit kills. I have no idea. I've never played Cubit's Quest. I can at least figure out the other one it's going to be. Zombies. So check in on things here. Now, if you've seen behind me before, you'll see that there are two bookshelves. And on this one over here is all the Destroyer novels. Not that I didn't write all the Destroyer novels. I'm not that old, for one thing. Those are mostly written by Warren Murphy and Richard Sapir, followed on by Will Murray and Jim Mulaney, and a couple of other guys who were kind of in and out ghostwriters for publishers, various publishers that had the series. I've got a bunch of hardcovers and soft covers over here. I've got a wire rack against the wall that has a lot of comic book related books on them. Novelizations of 52, novelizations of Countdown. Got some older paperbacks like, the Further Adventures of the Joker I'm looking at there. I liked. I'm gonna bring that kind of thing over here. Be back in just a second. Believe it or not, they're still doing these things. I don't see them advertised that often, which is a shame. They should do better marketing. But here we have, the further adventures of the Joker. This was, good Lord. This is old, I know, because I had it when I was in college in Chicago and thought I had some of the stories signed. Okay, so it says 1990. It has stories in here by Joe R. Lansdale. Looking for names I recognize that y'all might recognize. Joey Cavalieri. Will Murray. Hey, the guy who wrote Destroyer stories. I'm going to have to bring this up to him in Destroyer World chat. That will be interesting. Marco Palmieri. Andrew Helfer. Mike Resnick. Yeah, so these guys were all doing stories about the Joker. Now, not all these stories had Batman in them, mind you. These were Joker stories, and I recall several of them being quite the horror pieces. That's a good read. This is the Further Adventures of Batman Volume 3, which was, of course, all Catwoman stories. I want to say the Further Adventures of the Joker was probably the Further Adventures of Batman Volume 2. I don't know how they numbered them. This also, well, no, if I look inside here, it's the Further Adventures of Batman 2 featuring the Penguin. I think I missed that one. I must have bought it for the cover. This has stories in it by Paul Kupperberg, Greg Cox, Ed Gorman, and Will Murray. My idol all of a sudden here. This man is getting into the short story business and always cranking it out. So respect, dude. F for respect for Will Murray. The city that could not breathe. I'm going to have to ask him about all of that stuff. And then, of course, my Further Adventures of Batman is probably on that shelf or in that box or in that Rubbermaid tub. Everything's not unpacked yet and probably never will be until I buy more shelves. Of course, have the Further Adventures of Superman novelizations. And I like comic books. I love comic books, but for the money, you'll get a lot more enjoyment time-wise out of a collection of short stories or even a full novel. I mean, you're looking at a novel like this, which, gosh, what did it run for? Under $10. You pay just under $10 for 2 comic books, and you're done with them in half an hour. Contents here: prologue by Dave Gibbons, first story by Will Murray. Will, get on this live stream with us. Probably do that. I'll blow that off. Another story by Joey Cavalieri. Forget Me Not by Mark Waid. We would like to forget you, Mark Waid. But Henry Slazar, epilogue by Dave Gibbons. So he wrote both ends of it. And this was done in 1993. So about 26 years ago. Seems like yesterday. Batman Inferno, another paperback adventure. I don't recall much about this one. I don't think this was one of the better ones. I've got a handful of novelizations that were Batman stories, and they just, the first movie had come out just a little bit, in 1988, 1989, and everyone was, Bat craze for a while. So there was every Bat book you could think of out there, and they were putting out novels to capture that. And it just, some of them hit, some of them missed, some of them tried to be bigger stories, meaningful stories. There was one where Batman was taking on child trafficking out of Thailand, and I can't recall the title of that one right off the top of my head. Darn, that's a shame. I've got it around here somewhere. Again, in another box. I've got more of these as well, but they did a series of Justice League novels. These are not anthologies now. We're into full-length stories here. So you get, for $8.99, you get 370 pages. That's pretty thick. Mass market trade paperback here. Not trade paperback, just mass market paperback. For Superman, this one is Roger Stern, The Never-Ending Battle. And in this one, a mysterious super terrorist has devised a master plan to bring the world to its knees using the planet's own weather as a weapon against Superman and his teammates in the JLA. But the conflict raises troubling questions for the Man of Steel about authority, justice, power, and the price of liberty in a world where the enemies of freedom stand at the brink of slavery. No. What? And the price... It's the glare. The sun's in my eyes. I know I'm in a basement. Shut up. But the conflict raises troubling questions for the Man of Steel about authority, justice, power, and the price of liberty in a world where the enemies of freedom stand on the brink of victory. How I saw slavery out of victory, I will never know. And the next one in that series was Justice League Batman. And yes, that definitely looks like it would be an Alex Ross cover. And Alan Grant is the author on that one. Batman the Stone King. Something has been unearthed in Gotham City, something that should not have been disturbed. An ancient pyramid has unleashed supernatural energies throughout the world. Drawn to the eye of this arcane storm, the heroes of the JLA become caught in the grip of a force far beyond their extraordinary powers. Only Gotham's protector, the Batman, manages to escape. But to free his allies and stop the chaos that is fast engulfing the world, the Dark Knight must somehow unlock the pyramid's secret curse. I remember not liking this one. And I know that Batman lives in a world full of aliens and superheroes and magic and supernatural. And occasionally they happen in his book. Some of the best Dead Man stories were team-ups with Batman. But Batman is at his best when he's in a world without those things. At least, to my mind, that's the best Batman, is when he's just Batman, and the villains are not so psycho crazy geniuses, but not aliens from other planets or I don't know, monsters. I'll accept Solomon Grundy. I don't know why. He sort of passes the smell test. Plus, he's been around as a Batman villain before. I don't know. Maybe I'm being hypocritical on that one. There have been some super-powered Batman villains. Dr. Phosphorus was one of my favorites. And obviously, you can't have a guy who's on fire all the time and consider that a rational, realistic world villain for Batman. So what else do we got back here? Well, I have unearthed some of my DVDs. I have an angel on my shoulder. I don't know if the comic skaters out there have caught onto it or not, but I'll figure it out. Right there. I have a little cube head Cecil on my counter. So Cecil is with me always. Saint Cecil, the just. I suppose just Saint Cecil. I did unearth some more DVDs that I did not get into my scanned collection yet. Uh, this one, I'm disappointed to open this one because under the right circumstances, when I would open this, the theme song would play. It had a light sensor in here, and when you went in to get, there's a light sensor right there. When you went in to get a disc out, it would immediately do the whole gentlemen, we can rebuild him. Fun fact about when I got this set, I need to drag this back out again too because my son would love this and we can watch the Bigfoot episodes. But I did get to do an interview with Oscar Goldman, the guy who acted that. That would be that was interesting. Okay, hope we're still here. Apparently, we can't minimize the screen or we lose the entire broadcast. Lovely. I'm glad that happened because I had some other screens here that I was going to be sharing with you all. That's okay. Screen sharing was canceled. Oh, the screen can't be minimized when you're going to share it. Okay. It's another application window I was going to share. Okay, I can bring that up now. I don't know what happened earlier. I want to add that to the screen. Cool. So that'll be ready for later. So yes, I was just saying that when I received this for review, I did do a phone interview with Oscar Goldman actor Richard Anderson, not Richard Dean Anderson, who was MacGyver. And I still have that audio somewhere. I published that. It was very difficult to hear. Mr. Anderson's kind of up in years now, and there were a lot of pauses going on there, and the voice just wasn't that loud. But you know, we still have it. I might be able to upgrade that some and see what we can do. Maybe we can salvage that and get some use out of it. It was good 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago. And it could be kind of fun. You know, Dynamite's getting some good mileage out of the $6 Million Man right now. So that would, there's definitely a reason to bring it back up, and Mr. Anderson's still kicking. So let's let the world know that we are still live. Just in case whoever popped in when I minimized the window thought we disappeared on them. We are still live. All right. We cast our bread upon the waters. Let us see how it shall return to us. Multi-fold, however many fold it's supposed to be. Who folds bread anyway? I don't know. Anyway, at one time, this was a really cool DVD set. And I'll say it's cool to have them in these giant boxes, but it's impractical because normally, this one wouldn't be so bad. This one would probably fit on your standard DVD shelf. They stack up in this direction. They're just as high as a normal DVD. So the box would kind of look like that if you put it on end. You'd probably want to put it more like this, or since it's being the top, put this out in front. This one's not so bad. I've got other sets that are far more practical. The complete set of the Flintstones, for instance, is done in like a Stone Age television set. It's molded plastic, and it kind of wobbles. The same thing is kind of true of That 70s Show, which is in sort of a 45 record case. It didn't hold 45 records. It held 45s that were records. Might be worth a Google. I'm not going to explain it to you guys. The complete Scooby-Doo movies is in a Mystery Machine van, which is cardboard, and it's a little flimsy around the edges. It gets bent up a lot. Good example of that in a more modern release would be not this one. This one's okay. This one stands up very nicely. It's just as tall as a DVD case should be. But, oh, Jesus. This one's heavy. You know, I don't really need these headphones yet because I'm not listening to anybody else, but when Steve joins us, I will need them. This one's a brick. This weighs about 40 pounds, and this is the complete series of Smallville. You can see it's a little taller than your standard DVD, about an inch, and it's a lot thinner. So if you put it on your DVD shelf, you put it like this, it's just going to stick out from the wall. And if you put it like this, it's going to leave a lot of space in the front of it. So it'll be back against everything. You're like, I'm wasting space with this thing. It's kind of cool, though, in the way they did it in a book form. So just kind of open it and pull the discs out of the top. I was one of the people who really enjoyed Smallville. I do know that when they tried to capitalize on the superhero craze that Smallville was enjoying, that's when they came out with Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey did not do quite nearly as well because they were still afraid to do superheroes. So they just did people with superpowers. So, very happy to show this picture of Lex Luthor, played by Michael Rosenbaum, who liked one of our tweets today and made us all feel very giddy and happy that we run into this person. Still the best Lex Luthor in cinema or ever filmed. Because none of his schemes involved real estate. As much as I fondly recall the Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve Superman stories, let's face it, they were a little light in being taken seriously. Now, it doesn't mean that they had to be as serious as Man of Steel. I don't think anyone's ever quite... I think the first Christopher Reeve movie struck the right balance with Superman. It did not quite strike the right balance with Lex Luthor. And God knows Man of Steel didn't do it. Man of Steel was definitely not pulling it off. I don't know that Luther. Maybe I haven't seen the director's cut of that one, which supposedly explains why he acted so dippy. But I still don't buy it. Even if he was a thrall to Darkseid, that's not what Luther would have done. Luther would have been all about, oh, this guy's got all kinds of power. How can I make it mine? I mean, Luther's the Doctor Doom of the DC universe. Someone has power, he wants it. That's just his gig. Especially if you're an alien with power, since he hates aliens. What else could I pull out here to talk about while we're waiting on Mr. Mitchell to make his arrival? I can't make it a draw along because I am not an artist. So you can't watch me do line work. I could bring up a Destroyer manuscript and start writing. You could watch me write. That would be riveting. Trying to find out what's going on in the world right now. I understand that it would appear there's been a break in the Vic Mignogna case, and I think that Nick Rekieta is probably talking about that. So if you're over there, great. We'd love to talk with Vic Mignogna. We'd love to get him on sometime and see what he has to say. He's been the one who's been quiet in all of this. It's all the other people involved in the story who've been talking nonstop and providing that umbrella guy with all kinds of fodder for shows on his stream. We're looking forward to kind of talking with Tug next week too. We might have a chance to get on his show and let people know about this stream. Tug's been very good to us in the past, and we certainly appreciate him and his content. And if you haven't yet gone out and gotten involved with the case of the Littlest Umbrella, which is his Indiegogo comic, we recommend that you do that. It's going to be open for just a little bit longer, I think. I think it's open till the end of the month. So it's been fully funded. Get in it while you still can before that door closes. When God shuts the door on the ark, I don't know. It's an analogy I always heard from preachers as a kid. So this thing says we are still live. I would expect that we still are live. So it would help if there was somebody here to post a comment and say, yes, we see you. I'll even put out a hello world. Hello world. So apparently the chat is working too. Not seeing any messages in my Twitter. I hate pulling Twitter up at the same time I'm streaming because it just kind of sucks some of the bandwidth away from the screen. But of course, StreamYard does that anyway. But back when we had Google Hangouts, we didn't have to have the camera working all the time. We could throw up the logo and just talk. It would be more like a radio broadcast. All the Comicsgate voices, your boy Zach, that umbrella guy, Ethan Van Sciver, they had become, for a while, they were my drive time radio. I actually quit listening to local news and local talk radio while I drive now because my phone Bluetooths into my car, and I just flip on YouTube and pick up any of you guys talking about what's going on in comics right now or going on in the world of entertainment, and get the news from there. It's been very entertaining, and I don't have to put up with all the political stuff going on that's out there. And as proof that we are live, I am seeing Mr. Mitchell has joined us.
Hello.
Steve, how you doing tonight?
Oh, crazy night at cheerleading practice.
What a world! What a world where you just have to go watch cheerleaders do what cheerleaders do.
Yeah.
Now we haven't told the world yet that they're only 14, so we just shattered the image for them now. But
yeah,
we had people in here a little bit ago, and then I decided I wanted to minimize my screen. And apparently, when you're running StreamYards, that's a bad thing to do.
Wow.
It totally disconnects you. So I put the tweet back out there again, letting people know we are live. We've been doing live streams now about every night this week, and we get a handful of people after the first half hour that come in and talk with us, and they've been regular visitors. We're happy to have them. We're hoping we'll see some of them show up again tonight. Now it's it's after 7:30 my time. It's about the time they start to get in here.
I'll see if I can find that link and get it tweeted out.
And we were able to reconnect, so. So what's it like being a famous author?
Famous? I don't know if I'm famous. Well, I mean, maybe I'm famous in my backyard, but it feels pretty good to be published, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. I'll tell you, when I had my first 2 books published, the Alice's Journey Beyond the Moon and then the Time Hunter novel, way before I'd even gotten involved in Destroyer, I was working, and people found out that I was a writer, and they said, well, what have you written? I was like, well, I did this for this company and this for that company. And they're like, why are you here? Because, if you've published a book, obviously you don't need to work a job. You're now Stephen King and pulling in the big checks.
Yeah, that's what everybody keeps like the kids around my daughter's age. They're very much convinced that I'm a famous author now and I don't need to work. And she's going to have all the money and they need to gravitate toward her. But it doesn't quite work that way, kids, unless your parents buy the book.
Exactly. You really want to ingratiate yourself towards her. Show her that you bought her dad's book, and will he sign it for me? Because someday,
That's right. That's right. And the number of requests for free copies are through the roof.
Yes, of course. Because I'm your friend. You wouldn't charge me money for it, right?
Right. Absolutely. Oh, and and back to the kids my daughter's age, it's, oh, well, I don't have a job. I can't buy your book. Will you give me one? Well, I mean, go to the library, ask them if they have it. If they don't, ask them if they can order it. There's a book sold and you can check it out for free.
That's absolutely right. Libraries are a great source for getting free books and still making sure the author sells some books. So
yep.
We want to make sure that all the librarians we know are aware of Bulletproof origins. And we've now seen, one hardcover copy in the wild. I have a copy coming to me, still waiting on it to arrive, but I'm being patient. I'll probably ship it your way and in a self-addressed stamped envelope for you to send back to me.
I know that there's a book floating around Las Vegas. So that's good.
That's very good. I keep watching the report page and waiting for it to, break into 6 digits of number of copies sold.
Maybe a little ways off of that.
Well, a little bit. We're working on getting that 3 digits, and then we're halfway to 6 digits, right? Because 3 is half of
There you go.
6.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but Bulletproof is out there, and I guess before we talk about what it's about, being, of course, your publisher, I want to know where's number 2?
Number 2 is fully plotted. It's been written. It's like I'm starting it. I'm on chapter 3 right now of my rough draft. Things are going swimmingly, and I'm really excited about the things that are just going to jump out at the page. Like they're just going to leap off the page to the reader. Whoever's read the first book, they're going to find out some really interesting information, and it's going to really connect to that first book right away.
Let's get that book showed up there again. I want to see how thick that is in real life. Show me that spine. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. I remember all the work we put into making sure that cover came together. And that is just, oh, I can't wait to get my hands on it now.
Yeah, I absolutely, I'm so over the moon with how this thing turned out. I was seeing pictures from people sharing it. And when I finally got this copy, I was just so thrilled with just the feel of holding it in my hand. It's got a good sound to it, and I can't stop looking at it. It stays on my bedside table, and I look at it every morning, and I carry it with me everywhere I go.
Well, wait till you get a whole box of them.
That's going to be really awesome. That might be video.
Nothing like having a box of the same book. That definitely should be video worthy. You should do an unboxing of that. Put that out on Twitter, and we'll retweet it.
Absolutely. I'll definitely do one.
So you're a published author now. You have a superhero YA novel out. You have plans for at least 2 more. I'm assuming This is a trilogy.
Yep.
Not a septuology like the Harry Potter or the. If you're not going to do 3, you do 7. It seems to be the case.
Or if I go really crazy, if I'm L. Ron Hubbard, I could do a decology with the Mission Earth series.
You could do that. What I please ask you not to do is a Wheel of Time series. So,
no, oh my God. I tried reading that. I am not doing a Wheel of Time series.
Because I'm afraid you'll get oodles of books into it and then not finish it.
Right, and then I'll be gone, and hopefully somebody will be able to finish it without any clue of how I wanted it done.
Yes, we still have George R.R. Martin here to finish off, the Game of Thrones stuff, but
and
not the cursing.
This is the one thing that I wanted to focus on with Bulletproof, and it's a very good parallel because I did not want Bulletproof to be so complicated that it would end up a situation like George R.R. Martin, where he has openly admitted that there are fans who know more about the story than he does because it's so convoluted. Like, he has contacted people to be reminded about certain plot points in his book as he's writing it because he doesn't remember it all because there's so much there. But the super fans, I mean, we all know a hardcore fan of something. They're just like an encyclopedia of knowledge because it's the only thing they care about. Well, those are the people he turns to get help with remembering how his story works. I did not want that with Bulletproof.
I wouldn't want to be that for any author out there. I wouldn't want to be the go-to guy. But he does have HBO in his corner.
Yeah.
So assuming now that you find yourself in an elevator with somebody from HBO or Paramount or Sony holding your book, what's the pitch? How do you hook somebody on this story? Because you're going to hook a director the same way you would hook a reader.
Yeah, I'm going to say that this is kind of, the elevator pitch, huh? I've probably run through this 100 times in my head, and I've probably said it 30 different times, 30 different ways with different combinations, because you want to try to get something that's going to like be relatable, something that they can compare it to. You know, I don't know if it's quite Breakfast Club, but it could be Breakfast Club with superpowers. But yeah, gee, I don't know. I struggle with it because he's such a unique character, and it's very usually the funny guy is the sidekick, unless you're Deadpool or Spider-Man,
Right, or Booster Gold.
or Booster Gold. But Booster Gold finds himself as a sidekick an awful lot too.
This is true. Yeah,
but
he was kind of the sidekick in his own book.
yeah. Bulletproof. He's almost like his own sidekick. Sometimes he's just so flighty that you know, his best friend Gene is really the one operating everything and, you know, controlling everything and getting him to where he needs to be. But yeah, it's kind of that's why I call him a subpar hero, not a superhero, a subpar hero.
Now you've got a very diverse cast of characters in here too. I mean, you know, it's not like the Silver Age of comics where, you know, the hero is white Caucasian, his sidekick's a white Caucasian, his girlfriend's a white Caucasian. He works in a building full of white Caucasians. But with hey Matthew, thank you, thanks for showing up, man. Appreciate you being here. We're talking with Stephen Mitchell about Bulletproof, the novel that just came out, and he's holding up the hardcover copy of it there. We have the link in the description. When I first read through the first drafts of Bulletproof and I was reading Gene's character, the first thing that was popping into my head was Dilton Doily from the Archie comics. And then I realized, no, wait a second, we're talking about a young African-American male here who just happens to be this uber nerd who's very, very smart and not homeschooled. He goes to high school, but he's a 12-year-old in high school, and you're dealing with a lot of that as well as Cody's 16-year-old teenage angst.
Yep.
And then you have his Hispanic, not girlfriend, but girl friend, Caliente,
Yep.
Callie. And you've just got this wonderful blend of people here interacting with each other. And none of it stands out that, you know, I'm the Hispanic girlfriend, but I'm not playing the role of Hispanic girlfriend. I am just
right.
happen to be a Hispanic who's the girl.
Right. And I think I felt like that was an important thing to do when I was writing this, was to make sure that the characters feel unique and genuine. Like I'm surrounded by diverse people, and there's not a single one of them that introduces themselves by their name and race. And they just are who they are. And that's what these characters are. Until something specific or needs to be mentioned about their race or color or creed, it doesn't need to be brought up, because these guys, they're friends with each other. And while the reader may want to know, in reality, people are just who they are. And that's what these characters are throughout the book until it needs to be expressed. And I think that there's a little bit of a shock factor, like when you find out, oh, Gene's black, what? Like, because he's just a kid in high school. And really, when you're in a group of people, you know, when you're in high school, the people around you, they're just like you and I. They're just shaded a little differently. And that's not nearly as important as what's on the inside. And as when I'm writing and I'm telling you about the character, that's what's on the inside. That's the important stuff.
Exactly. Matthew's asking, it's a novel, any illustrations? The only illustration we have for Bulletproof is Matt Flint's cover illustration. And trust me, that was hard enough work to get this pulled off for the cover. We had toyed around with doing an IGG for this. and maybe having different stretch goal levels of having different artists do centerpiece illustrations, sort of like just a middle section where you see all the different characters illustrated. Ultimately, we decided to just kind of play it straight, and the only interior illustrations are the chapter headings, which are the Bulletproof logo with numbers on them illustrating each chapter. And that worked out rather well. What's the printing on that look like? Because I'm still waiting for mine. Is it sharp? Is it good?
Yeah,
quality symbol there?
It is. It's beautiful. And actually, we've gotten a lot of compliments on it. There's a lot of people really like those chapter headings.
Excellent. That's just one of those happy brainstorm moments that worked out just perfect for us.
Yeah, and I will say, as far as the art goes, I will say that the artist Matt Flint is really excited about this character, and he and I have had an awful lot of side discussions about potential expansions with the art, different characters. We're talking like I half-heartedly, jokingly made a comment about trading cards, like in the Marvel heyday when they had the trading cards out, and he just got really excited about that. So whether or not that's something that we explore in the future, it could happen if we see a demand, or if he just gets overexcited and just does it. But he's very excited.
That's definitely an option. You know, you can do an IGG for something that's already finished if you want to add like stretch goals onto it. And this is where, you know, if you had something in addition to the book, you could put the book up with a set of trading cards or a poster. Obviously, the book maybe be signed would be a nice thing to have up there. And then, you know, you get the appropriate upcharge on everything, and you run an IGG that, you know, no one has to wait for anything to be fulfilled because it's already there. I did an IGG last year when I was living in Texas and I needed to raise funds for the move. I had all these books available, so I just started putting packages of them together with signatures. And I didn't hit, you know, 6 figures, young lady, or 5 figures, sir. Sadly, did not reach even the 4 figures. But, you know, I reached enough to help out, and it worked. This IGG is an excellent idea.
Yeah, it's definitely something. It's definitely something to explore. And Matt is actually he does a lot of conventions locally, and he does pretty well. He just did RetroCon last weekend, and nothing but positive comments about not only the foot traffic through there, but how well he did. He and I have been discussing sharing a table as an opportunity to, you know, combine our powers, you know, my book, his art, and, you know, we can really gauge interest about what people out there are looking for. He's already got an established fan base, and if people love to see his art, then we can really do some crazy things with the expansions on this, as far as trading cards, posters, anything like that.
Sure. Now, one of the things that we have not talked about outside of the original trilogy that's planned for this of novels is a lot of young adult novels have gone into the graphic novel adaptation. And, you know, being already a superhero novel, I would think that Bulletproof might be a prime candidate for something like that. If you've already got the novel done, and somebody's wanting to do, you know, serious illustrations on it, what do you think the options are for something like that in the near future? Or maybe not near future, maybe get the trilogy out of the way and then adapt it all at once, or adapt it in parts.
Yeah, I think it would probably look pretty amazing on the pages of a comic book. I was very hesitant to write a superhero story in novel form, because that's just not typically how we're introduced to superheroes. But it really allowed me to flesh out the characters and get to the root of them. But I would love to see a comic book adaptation. And in today's world of crowdfunding and independent comics, there's so many avenues that it really could be explored seriously with the right kind of commitment. Whether we crowdfund it ourselves or we reach out to independent company like Alterna Comics, there's a lot of opportunities out there to really expand on this character.
You're right. We don't normally get introduced to superheroes through novels. I can think of a few that have been that way. One is a much older novel called How Like a God. And that was, just this guy who wakes up with superpowers. It gets traced back to Gilgamesh. It was a very thought-provoking one. But more recently, Scott Westerfeld did a book called Zeros. Now, this was followed up by a second and a third book. But Zeros was a team of superheroes that answered the challenge of how do you make something original that hasn't been seen already. And so his team worked better as a team than they did as individuals, just because of the way their power sets were. The one that stands out to me immediately was the character called Anonymous. And Anonymous's power was, it's very useful, but it's also very tragic, because Anonymous will talk to you, and you will, make plans together, and then as soon as he's out of the room, you forget he exists. So he's an out of sight, out of mind character, and that's great, because you can run in and get something out of a room and run out, and nobody who's chasing after you remembers what you look like or why they were chasing you in the first place. But as happened to him in the story, he got pneumonia and was hospitalized, and he begged his mother not to leave the room because she would forget him. And she's like, if you tell your mother she's going to forget you, of course you're going to say, I'll never forget you. How could that possibly happen? I'm never going to leave you. And of course she leaves and goes home, and the nurses leave, and they all forget he's in the room, and he nearly dies. He has to crawl out of the room and get help. So it was a very cool kind of power set.
Yeah, and there's the other part about like the comparisons to heroes that have come before and the superpowers. I can't tell you how many times people have dumbed my book down by saying, "Oh, so it's unbreakable." No, it's not unbreakable. I mean, the power is similar. Yes, I mean he's you're not going to break his bones. Spoiler, a mild spoiler, but I did post this on my Facebook page. He gets hit by a car, and there's not a scratch on him. So in the same sense, that's the same power, but the character itself and how he reacts to that ability and how he uses it, completely different. And over time, we've seen a lot of these powers be used and duplicated, but ultimately what makes it good isn't the power, but the character. The character is what makes it good. There's plenty of people out there that have made fake versions of Superman, and even fake versions of Captain Marvel. But it's about the character. And if the character isn't written well, then who cares what the power is like?
Right. And as far as the power goes, that's all he's got. He's not super strong. He's not lifting, he's not lifting the car that he gets hit by. I'm not clear in my memory whether or not he feels pain from impact, or if it's just he doesn't get damaged from impact. A bullet to the chest isn't going to penetrate, but it still might go, ow.
Yeah, there's actually it's mentioned that like in the first chapter, it might be the second chapter when he's actually talking to Gene about it, but he talks about the punches that he takes. It feels like he's getting whacked with a bunch of rolls of paper towels. Like you just feel some thumping, but there's really no pain behind it.
Yeah, because if you think about it, a truly invulnerable person like Superman, who doesn't get hurt, doesn't feel pain. Well, if you can't feel pain, you can't feel.
Right,
and that would be
without that sensation. Yeah, without that sensation, it's something that I've highly considered, because maybe somewhere down the line, I'd like to explore the idea of him not having that sensation of feeling, and almost like he doesn't feel human because there's certain things that he would want to feel. But there are scenes in the book that certainly show that he can feel things. And he does react to those stimuli when he is touched or even looked at. But
Yeah. Well, he is 16, so that's to be expected. Lola,
yep,
welcome
yep.
to the chat. We're glad to have you here. We're talking with Stephen Mitchell, author of Bulletproof. Bulletproof is the first full-length novel from Critical Blast Publishing. Our first book, of course, was Gods and Services, which was a short story anthology. But this is the one we're truly excited about. It's hardcover for now. If you want to wait for the soft cover, great. But hardcovers are really nice, and this one has the dust jacket on it. And
Nice.
hold on a second. Hold on a second, Steve. Let me get you to switch back here where they can get a good view of that cover, because I had the Amazon page
talking
up
about
here.
the hardcover.
Yes, absolutely. Now, have you taken the dust jacket off yet?
I have.
See what the actual.
I have, and I'll do it right now. I don't know if we can see
nice.
that. Oops, I'm upside down.
Yeah, I can see it. Very, very nice. Okay. They had just switched to that new printing imprint they were telling us when we were getting this all set up with Ingram.
I love the sound.
Yes. Very cool. I don't even have a hardcover book. So all of my things have been published in paperback, trade paperback. So I think this was a good call.
I remember having the conversation about it, and this is the ultimate dream for me. And if that was going to be an option, then I was going to take it. So anybody that complains about the cost of a hardcover can direct their complaints to me.
Okay. Well, Lola, if you want to know where you can find this, I've got the page up now here. This is Amazon, Bulletproof Origins by Stephen J. Mitchell. It is running at $23.99. If you do a search on Amazon for Bulletproof Mitchell, you will find 2 listings for this, which I find to be phenomenally odd, because somebody is out there selling brand new copies for double that price. So avoid that person. They are getting a hell of a markup, and all they're doing is reordering the book for you. And she asks, what's the age level? Steve, I'll let you tackle that one.
Based on my initial thoughts behind writing the book, I've actually been impressed to find out that there are 12-year-olds enjoying the book. My initial thought was probably 14 and up, but there are some readers, 12, that are able to do it, and they're understanding it, and they're enjoying the humor. They may not be catching on to some of the deeper themes, but they're definitely enjoying the action. So I would say 12 and up.
All right, so that's perfect age. I'm sure that my 12-year-old is going to grab it off the shelf when my copy gets here, and I have no problem with him reading it either. Obviously, I've read it 3-4 times now, just in manuscript format. So I was getting to where I was reading the whole book real quickly at some points.
Yeah, I imagine. I do that too. I'm to the point now where I'm just kind of skimming through it, but I can't help myself. So,
have you read it once you got the book? Because I'll tell you, once I get one of my books in, I never read them. I don't know what it is, but it's like I don't want to see what my publisher might have changed, because I'll sit there and cringe at it. I'm like, oh no, why did you do that? And I'm like, I'll just spare myself the disappointment, and I'll dig into it if somebody asks a question in a review.
I every once in a while I'll just flip to a page and start reading. I haven't read it cover to cover, but I will flip to a page and start reading just for the nostalgic feel. Like I want to look at that page, and just through reading that section, I'll start to kind of put myself back in place when I was writing that section, and just say, okay, I must have been thinking this when I was doing it, or where was I coming from? Or the worst part, the absolute worst part, is there has been a moment where I said, ooh, if I only did it this way.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the other reason why I don't read them, because I will want to correct it. And I'm like, oh, wait, this is the printed version. It's uncorrectable now. So have you signed any of them yet?
I have not, although I do have some people close to me that have their copies. I believe I will be signing a couple of them this weekend.
All right. You do know there is a proper method for signing a book when you're an author. This had to be taught to me. Well, you turn to the not necessarily the front page that says Bulletproof, but then the second page that says Bulletproof, and then Stephen J. Mitchell underneath of it, and then you sign your name above the printed version of your name. That's the page you want to be signing right there, right above your name. You put your signature.
So
that's why I made sure to include both copies of the title page.
Gotcha. So we're gonna go right there.
Right there. That gives you got plenty of white space to write them a love letter or a dedication or whatever it is you want to put on there. And a piece of advice: whenever they come up to you and tell you their name, always ask them how they like it spelled. Don't ever assume. I actually had a guy come up to me whose name was RJ. Like, oh, I can pull this one off.
Right.
And I put down RJ. And he's like, no. ARJAY.
Oh,
he was Indian. Fortunately, there was an R and a J next to each other that I could build off of and get the name in there right. But last thing you want to do is spell somebody's name wrong, and then you're stuck with a book that you have to hold on to until you find somebody with that name.
Right.
And be able to say, "Oh, I've got a book for you."
I have read a few articles on signing, because you'd be surprised how many articles there are about what kind of pen is the ideal pen to use.
Oh yeah.
But in my exploration and my research, one person even said that at book signings they always keep a stack of Post-it notes so they can have the person write their name down for them.
If you have a long line, that's a perfect thing to do, because then you can just have somebody go down the line and put the Post-it notes on their books and put your name on here, and then when you put it down, you can just copy it off of there while you're talking.
Yeah,
it's an excellent idea. I've tried the silver paint pens. I don't know. I've seen authors use the silver paint pens and the gold paint pens, and they sign something and it just looks beautiful. I sign something and I'm like, I see nothing. It's just like not showing up. So I just have a bright color. Not necessarily a Bic pen. I don't have the cheapos. I just have like a purple pen that I sign all my Alice books with. And I do that because Lewis Carroll wrote with purple ink later in his life. So I said, well, I'm just going to pick that up and carry it on, and nobody's going to know why I'm doing it, but maybe someday somebody will ask.
Right. Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. There's some meaning behind your choice of pens. I got to make sure that I just, pick a pen that's not going to bleed through the page, and it's not going to look like a complete and total mess outside of my normal signature, which
There's
I've been
nothing
practicing.
wrong with there's nothing wrong with a Sharpie. Bring several of them, because after you've signed about 20 times, the edge starts to get dull and frayed, and you pitch it and use it for keeping notes at home, and get another nice sharp Sharpie to continue doing signatures after that.
Yeah, I will most likely have to take that into consideration and make sure I have a hefty supply of writing utensils. I get nervous with Sharpies, though. I don't know why. I get nervous around Sharpies. It just doesn't feel right in my hand. They're a little thicker than pens are, and there's finer point Sharpies out there, but I don't know. I just feel weird about them.
And that's what I do use, is the very thin, very finest point Sharpies that are out there. Nice hard point to the end of them. Not a magic marker by all means, certainly not even a dry erase marker kind of thickness, but you can get some that are nearly pen sized, which are the things to use. Taking a different track for a bit here, one of the things I've been talking with people about is your daughter, who is on a cheer team and who has made her way with her team to the national competitions coming up next month in Orlando, Florida. Congratulations, by the way. You've got to be very proud of that.
Yes, I'm very proud of her and her entire team. This team's been together for 3 years. The team was a little bit bigger. In 2 years. The team was a little bit bigger in 2017, but the girls that are with us today, minus one, they've all been together for 2 years. And this is the last year that they will be together. They're a varsity cheerleading team for a Pop Warner organization, which is a youth organization that's nationwide. And they're with the Clay Panthers. We're very proud of them. While they did not place in the top two, they scored within 5 points of first place. So what that means is the Pop Warner gives them an at-large bid. Basically, what that says is, if you guys were a little bit better and first place was a little bit worse, you would have beaten them. So because you're so close, we're sending you to nationals for an opportunity to get it right. And national competition, the national championships take place at the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex in Orlando, Florida.
And because it's going to be there and it's such a big deal, there are going to be innumerable eyeballs on all of these teams, which is why I wanted to bring this up to people in this chat, because right now you're at the stage where you're needing to raise funds for the trip to get the girls there. And as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these donations, which are tax deductible, because it is a charitable organization,
yep.
If you donate to help them get there, then you also have the opportunity to have your corporate logo put on the team shirts, just like NASCAR jackets and the cars have.
Yeah, actually,
right so far.
And we're hitting the ground at our local area. However, I always try to think big, and it makes total sense to look for donations from more national brands, because these are the brands that it doesn't matter where you are. We're getting turned down from a lot of people locally because they don't care what people in Orlando, Florida see. Nobody in Orlando, Florida is going to order, a pizza from the Cicero Country Pizza, So thinking on a more national scale, you're going to have eyeballs from teams that competed and came over from Hawaii. I mean, you're talking, it's a pretty big national reach that these Pop Warner organizations have.
Exactly. And that got me to thinking that there are all these people trying to sell their comic books right now on IGG, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Comicsgate, Teen Comics, and all the rest. And I thought, what an opportunity here for, a minimal donation, considering the money that, some of these things are raising, that they could get their logo, their branding on this shirt and in front of eyeballs that aren't going to IGG to look for comic books, maybe aren't even going to their local comic shop to look for comic books, but we'll see this team wearing these shirts. Now, imagine, all these girls come out and they've got this shirt on, and over on one side is something called Cyberfrog. Well, somebody's going to ask, what the heck is Cyberfrog, and what did they do, and why are they sponsoring you? And you can say, oh, well, Cyberfrog is this comic book that came out that you can get on the internet, or Jawbreakers is this team of G.I. Joe-like characters, or, Monster MD is, this story about a doctor who treats monsters. And you get a conversation going there where they've seen the logo, they've seen the art style, and for that donation, you've got in front of eyeballs who will now, maybe 1 out of 100 will go to the IGG or go to the internet and look for your title.
Yep.
And I just thought it would be a great idea to just drown them in Team Comics logos.
And if you're concerned about whether or not your product may not be like teenage girls may not be the target audience, you've got families that are going down to root these girls on. That includes brothers, fathers, and they go to the Pop Warner Super Bowl. And a lot of times these girls will be asked to cheer for teams that made it down, but their team's cheerleaders did not advance. So they'll look for cheerleaders to come and do sideline cheers, and we'll be down there, and there's a good opportunity for a bunch of teenage boys and their dads to see the logos on these shirts.
Exactly, because even if they even if the teenage boys who are in attendance are just there to support their sister, don't really care about cheerleading, they're going to go there because it's the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex. It is a place to go that, is a place they want to go. They want to see what that whole complex center. And they're just going to not be unable to see these logos on these shirts because there's some eye-popping logos these guys put together.
Yeah, and like I said, 2 years ago we went down to compete for a national championship, and our girls finished in 4th place. So being 4th in the nation is pretty awesome. But I can tell you firsthand that there are thousands of people walking around you the entire time you're there. It's shoulder to shoulder.
Well, I think this is a great opportunity. I've already emailed some publishers. I've shared them with you. I had a Twitter message come to me before you came on from yet another publisher who is expressing interest. So we'll see how that gets gauged. I'll let you know more about that when we're off the stream because he hasn't committed, so I don't want to mention his name in the live stream here. But I another indie artist, indie publisher that I think is doing some very cool work, not in IGG and not in Comicsgate. So it's an LCS indie publisher. I think that they doing a great job. I think if anybody's watching this, if you're catching the replay and you're interested in this kind of thing, shoot us an email. Just send it to criticalblast@criticalblast.com. And we just put, cheerleading sponsorship in the subject message, so I'll understand what you're sending it to me for. I have the form here. I'll send it on to you. You're not going to send any donations to Critical Blast. We are not handling the money. We are simply giving you the form. Any money you decide to donate and get your logo onto this team shirt would go straight to the cheerleading team, whoever's handling that, not me. We've just got the big idea thing. We're trying to help these girls get down to their competition. They've worked really hard. They deserve the chance to get down there. And you're not really trying to raise a treasure trove of money to get down there, right? I mean, what is the limit we're looking at to make this happen?
So for each girl, to fund each girl, I'm not worried about me, but in order to get each girl down there, the cost is $800 a head. So there are 8 girls on our team, so 16. I don't know what that. My math is terrible. It's $800, 8 kids.
6,400.
6,400. So we've got to raise that much money to get them down there, and I will tell you a little backstory about the resiliency of these girls. This year, we had some issues. Us parents had an issue with how they were being treated by their coaches. Now, these are the same coaches that they've been working with for the last 2 years. And us parents kind of got used to the way that they ran their practices until they held a closed door practice one Sunday evening. And I'm sorry, it was a Monday evening, the night after a very bad practice already. So Monday evening, all the girls come out and they're hysterical. They're all crying. They're all upset. And us parents, we talk to our kids. How is practice? What's wrong? Why are you crying? And the stories that were coming to us were stories of insulting, bullying, and it was bad. So us parents got together and we demanded to sit with the coaches in front of the league president and the cheer coordinator to discuss what's happening at these practices, because it's competition, yes, but this is a youth organization and the focus should be on teaching these girls, building them up, and being mentors and leaders and coaches. But it got to a point where it seemed like the 2 of the 3 coaches were more focused on getting to Disney than they were about building these girls up and correcting things and actual coaching. So we held this meeting, and one of the coaches decided that they didn't want to deal with it, so they didn't even bother showing up. The other coach spent the entire meeting with her face buried in her phone. When all of us parents got done talking, the cheer coordinator begged and pleaded the other coach to please speak up on her behalf explain why the practices are being run the way they are. What are the misconceptions? Where is the message being missed here? Well, the coach decided that she didn't want to deal with it either. She got up, she threw her chair, she swore, and she walked out on the team 4 days before regional competition. So,
Wow.
yeah, so we're just concerned about how our kids are being treated. And the coaches bailed on the girls because they didn't like being called out on it. So they had to pull themselves together with 4 days left before the regional competition and pull off their routine. And granted, they didn't place, but they still made it within 5 points that allowed them to get an at-large bid. So now these girls feel like they have something to prove, and they're getting a chance to do it.
Well, we're definitely going to be cheering them on. We're going to try to get a Critical Blast patch on that shirt. That's going to happen. I don't know when. I know when they're going, so I've just got to make my schedule line up with that, but that will happen. And hopefully we'll have a report on them bringing back a really nice sized trophy that will cause their pictures to get taken in the papers, wearing those shirts and getting those logos out to an even wider audience.
Absolutely.
I was going to, and I even wrote in the description that we were going to talk about upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths. But, we've been here for an hour and a half, and it's later where you're at. Why don't we set that up for a little bit closer to the actual event, maybe the week before in December? You up for that?
Yeah, it sounds good. It'll give me a chance to get caught up.
Have you been able? Okay, good. So you're not quite caught up on all the Arrow stuff yet either. Which,
yeah,
I have one big gripe against Arrow right now. Even as much as I'm loving the fact that he's on a monitor quest, but and then the Flash is almost starring in his show because he's trying to prepare all of his team members for life without him because he's resigned to the fact that he's going to die. Which I can't see them doing that either because he has episodes after Crisis, even though Arrow doesn't. So
yeah,
we will do.
I mean, it's Crisis. They could kill him and then bring him back. I mean, you just never know.
He'll send off a time remnant or something. But yeah, it's all the monitors has said is that the Flash has to die. He hadn't said Barry Allen has to die. I just want to get one nagging question out of the way, and I hope the screenwriters, the showrunners do this. I need to know, why is the monitor Barack Obama? Because when you listen to him speak and you look at his facial expression, you're like, I've seen that before. I've heard that before. Can you say you didn't build that to any of these superheroes? I want to hear that just in your tone, because whoever they've got would be a dead ringer for a voice actor for that.
Right.
But we'll be back. We'll be back next month to do that. And Steve, it's been great having you here. Again, the book that we are talking about tonight is Bulletproof Origins. It's called Bulletproof Origins because it is the first book in the series, and it is the not so secret origin anymore of how this 16-year-old high schooler gets his superpower of invulnerability. Do you want to tease the title of the second book, or do you want to just kind of leave that hanging out there until we get the trade paperback going?
I think we're gonna hold off on the title for the second book because while initially nobody will make the connection, but I'm not quite ready to share it. I just, like, in my own head canon, I feel like it's like a really big deal, and I want to make sure that we've hit maximum capacity for who's going to have this book in their hands before I make that announcement.
Excellent. All right, so you and I will talk later about the future of Bulletproof, especially when's the appropriate time to do the paperback version, and when we want to schedule the next. Well, we can't schedule the next book until you've done it. So, we just put the first book out, but it feels like okay, get the second book out now. We've got to do it.
I know.
It's hard to pull back and say, let it simmer.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's trust me. I'm working on writing it, and every second that I have an opportunity to sit down to focus on it, I sit down and I write. I've already gotten a message from somebody who's completed the book, and the demand for the second book is there, at least from that individual.
Excellent. And for everyone who's interested in Bulletproof Origins, we do have the link in the description. We definitely appreciate it if you clicked on that, and if you wanted to buy it, go through that link. One thing I would mention is that if you do buy it, please let us know how you like it, and let us know through the Amazon review page. Amazon reviews are important in the sales of books, and there is actually an algorithm that you're trying to get 50 reviews. When you get 50 reviews on a book, that's when your book qualifies to be recommended by Amazon to other readers. So that if you ever go to a page for a book and you see, hey, you're getting this book, you may like this book, you're getting that recommendation because that book has cracked the 50 review mark and Amazon is now promoting it. So if you can help us, get to that 50 review mark, then somebody who's out there picking up Scott Westerfeld's Zeros or some other superhero YA novel out there, and apparently that's a pretty big genre from what we've seen, then they will start getting recommendations for Bulletproof based on your reviews. So you would really be helping us out if you were to do that. Steve, always a pleasure chatting with you, and we will definitely get back next month and do some crisis management as the hype starts to ramp up more for CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Take care, my friend.
All right.